What's up, YouTube? You checking out the Frequent Flyer, and basically it's the end of 2015, so I thought it's about time for me to do it again. Welcome to my top 5 favorite indoor flyers list for 2015. Now, just to let you guys know, first off, that some of the multi-rotors that I had in my previous list did not make it only because those multi-rotors aren't available anymore in the form that they were in, or they're just endangered species. So I just thought it would be better to include only multi-rotors that you can go out and purchase right now. So without further ado, coming in at number 5 is this, the Furne FX2, or Fineco FX2, however you want to pronounce it. But anyhow, this thing is really awesome. I really like the way this thing flies indoors. It's a really nice indoor flyer. It doesn't have a fast yaw rate or deep pitch, but it does have nice enough pitch and yaw to be able to fly it around indoors pretty decently and do nice circuits with it. You can't do tight funnels with it, but this thing is really a nice flyer. It's very stable, and one of the main reasons that this made it is because of its flight time. This thing has a really long flight time for a nano. It flies for upwards of 7 minutes. You're definitely going to get around 6.5 to 7 minutes of hard flying with this thing. If you take it easy, you're going to get even more. But this thing has insane flight times for a nano, and it's tiny. This thing is about the size of a Cheerson CX-10. It's just really awesome flying it indoors. I have a lot of fun with this flying it indoors. It does nice flips. It has a green light on the front of it that looks cool for orientation, basically. But the other lights are awesome too. It lights up pretty decently. But lights really aren't that important when you're flying it indoors, but that's just a nice touch, and its build is impeccable. I like the way it's built. It's awesome, looks awesome, and flies nice indoors. So coming in at number 5 is the Fineco or Fineco FX2. Now coming in at number 4, the X7 by WLtoys. Now I know you guys are probably wondering what the heck is going on. This was number 1 in the last list. The previous list actually had a different version of this. This is not the original version. This is the new version X7. So this flies, it flies really nice. It's a nice flyer and all. And this does bind to the Devo. And with the Devo, this thing flies really awesome. Has very deep pitch and nice fast yaw. And it just flies really awesome outdoors with the Devo. But not judging by the Devo, just talking about its stock form, this isn't as good as the original X7. The original X7 is more stable than this. This drifts around a little more. The original X7 flips better. This flips really nice. Don't get me wrong. This hovers and flips really nice, but not as nice as the original X7 is all just about flawless with it. With its flips, it does flips and it's steady. It barely loses any altitude, and it hardly even moves or drifts around after it flips. This one drifts a little after it flips, but it flips fast still, but it just drifts a little. It's not as stable, but it is pretty stable though. And also the pitch isn't as deep on this one. So the pitch on the original one is a little deeper than this one, but this one isn't bad at all. You still can do all the manual flips and all indoors and fly it around, get around pretty well, but it just lacks the pitch, so you can't fly it as fast indoors. Some of you guys probably don't like flying fast indoors, but I'm one of those guys that I'm flying fast indoors. Sometimes you gotta duck. If I'm flying indoors and you live with me, you have to duck. But this thing is a really nice flyer, just not as good as the original one, but not bad at all. It's better than most, better than average. So coming in at number 4, the WLtoys new X7. And so coming in at number 3, the WLtoys Q272 Nano Hex. That's right, a hex made it to my list this year. This hex is really awesome. I really like the way this thing flies. This thing is pretty much the best nano hex that I have. It binds to a Devo and flies really nice with the Devo, but without a Devo, with just maybe a X6058 transmitter, this thing has really deep pitch and fast yaw rate, and just is a joy to fly. What I really like about this little nano hex is its roll angles. Its roll is very deep on the pitch, so it looks really nice flying it indoors. You can get some nice banking funnels with it and banking turns. It just banks really nice, and it's just awesome. You could do awesome funnels with it. It looks really nice. This thing is a really awesome little nano hex. You can pretty much get around with it indoors pretty easily. Because the yaw rate isn't slow. The yaw rate is pretty decent. Even with the stock transmitter, this thing just is really easy to fly indoors. So really nice indoor flyer, this Nano Hex by WLtoys. And I had given up on WLtoys with making nanos because their their V272 was just it was just bad. Bad quality. It would start to lean after a while. Every one that I got, I think I had about 4 of those things, and after a while they would just start to lean hard when you're trying to fly it. And I had given up, but they really came back strong with this little nano hex. This thing is awesome. One of my favorite flyers, definitely, even outdoors, but this is definitely one of my indoor favorite flyers. Coming in at number 3. So coming in at number 2, the Eteam Raider, or CG023. Now this thing is awesome, and I know you guys are probably thinking this was available for your last list, but I didn't have it. Mine had flown away. I had lost mine. It actually didn't fly away. I think I just lost it in the dark. Because this thing has a feature that when it's sitting for a while, the lights, it turns itself off actually, and I was flying it in the dark and it got away from me, and I just landed it, brought it down, dropped the throttle and let it fall, and figured I'd walk up to it and get it. And by the time I got to it, the lights were off and I was in a pitch black area and never found it. But anyhow, this isn't even the same version. I think this is a new version, and it's a little better. As an indoor flyer, this is more stable than the previous version, and it just flies more stable. It flips really nice. It has a really fast yaw rate and very deep pitch. Really nice to fly indoors. Sometimes it's better to fly something larger, or not better to fly something larger, but it's a breath of fresh air sometimes to fly something larger indoors, to be able to fly a larger micro indoors and really get around with it. And this thing has a fast enough yaw rate to fly indoors, and it's really light, so it's not going to hit anything hard or damage anything when you're flying it indoors if you crash. But this thing is just really light, floating. It seems like it's floating when you're flying it. That's how light it's and how nicely it flies, and it hardly even takes any throttle to keep this thing up in the air, and it's fairly quiet. Now these props I have on mine, they aren't the stock props. These props come from the Hot Wheels Street Hawk, and I just use the extra props from that to put on here because it makes it even more quiet. But the stock props are actually really nice props. The CG023 props are fairly quiet. They're not loud at all, but these are even quieter, even more quiet than the stock ones. But it really don't offer any better flight characteristics other than it's a little more quiet. So it flies the same. This thing is a really awesome indoor flyer. Now, one thing that I didn't like about this one as opposed to the original CG023 is they changed the LED lighting on it as well. They made it better as far as stability, but the lighting is horrible, especially for outdoor night flying. The front lights are orange and the rear lights are red. They're almost the same color. They look like you really can't tell them apart when flying them outdoors at night. So this thing is definitely not a night flyer, but night flying is irrelevant when you're talking about indoor flying. LEDs really don't matter. It could be a nice touch because you can see LEDs pretty nicely indoors. And some people use that for orientation when flying indoors with dim lighting or whatnot. But for the most part, the lighting doesn't matter. This thing is a really nice indoor flyer, coming in at number 2 on my favorite indoor flyers list of 2015. And coming in at number 1 is the JJRC X1. This thing is really awesome indoors. It's brushless motors. It's pretty fast, and I'm just kidding, guys. Don't try to fly the X1 indoors. You break something or hurt somebody really bad. But coming in at number 1, all jokes aside, is this little guy. Now, this is the Estes Proto N. I haven't had this thing for very long, and it's instantly become my favorite indoor flyer. This thing is awesome, man, and it comes in red. You see the red there? You know red is my favorite color. But anyhow, this is basically the same thing as the Cherson CX Stars and the D1 little Pico Quad, and what else? There's the Furne FX2. Essentially the same multi-rotor, but Estes made this thing better. This is actually the only one that doesn't have that useless headless mode on the third rate. So this has a true third rate, a faster speed, deeper pitch on the third rate, and a little bit faster yaw, which makes this thing awesome. Flying it indoors, you can fly it fast and get around. It's so tiny. This is a Pico Quad. It's tinier than all of the previous nanos that we were flying around and stuff. This thing is just really awesome. Estes did a really good job with commanding that that they get rid of that headless mode. That thing is useless. I don't understand why you would have headless mode in a Pico Quad, and let alone that, why would you have it replace the third rate? I really don't understand that. But this thing flies really nice indoors. It's pretty much a little mosquito buzzing around, it seems like, and you just can fly this thing anywhere just about. I have so much fun flying this thing around through the little hoops that I have set up and all. Just so much you can do with this thing, flying it indoors. It's just a really a joy to fly. And sometimes you just look at it and marvel at how small it is when you're flying it. Just like the Cherson CX10 was before. I used to look at that thing when it's flying and be like, it's just amazing to have something so small be so stable and be able to fly so well. Well, this has replaced that as the world's smallest drone, or that's what they like to call it, but I think it's better to call these quadcopters. But the world's smallest quadcopter is this now, a Pico Quad, and it flies really nice. So that's the number 1 pick for me for my favorite indoor flyer. It's the Estes Proto N. So that's my favorite indoor flyers for 2015. Thanks for watching.